John Deere, a name synonymous with tractors and green machinery as iconic as the fields they tread upon, found itself in hot water after a move that left both customers and competitors reeling. Known for decades as the steadfast ally of farmers and landowners, Deere's decision to clamp down on what some have called a fundamental right has stirred unrest in communities that once swore by the brand. It's the kind of story that makes you lean back in your chair, shake your head, and wonder how an industry giant could misread its audience so badly. But before we proceed further, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. The crux of the controversy revolves around Deere's approach to repairability, a subject that wouldn't have seemed spicy a few years ago, but has taken on a life of its own in the modern age. Farmers, ranchers, and even suburban lawn enthusiasts have long depended on Deere equipment to make their lives easier. However, the company's iron grip on repair processes has turned loyal customers into frustrated critics. By restricting access to software and parts needed for even basic fixes, Deere has, intentionally or not, disrupted the harmonious relationship it once enjoyed with its users. Imagine this. You're a farmer mid-harvest. The combine, a massive machine as complex as any piece of modern engineering, throws an error. Normally you'd grab a wrench, consult a manual, and tinker until it roared back to life. But now, Deere's software locks prevent that. Instead of solving the issue in the field, you're forced to call a certified technician, often waiting hours or days. The crop doesn't wait, and every minute of downtime costs money. The frustration is palpable, even if you've never set foot on a farm. What sparked this firestorm wasn't just the inconvenience. It was the principle. Farmers have a long history of self-reliance, and many see their ability to repair their machinery as a birthright. The idea that they should fork over cash for repairs they could do themselves feels not only impractical but insulting. It's like telling a carpenter they can't sharpen their own tools or a chef they're not allowed to dice vegetables with their favorite knife. This restriction touches a nerve, and not just among farmers, repair enthusiasts, consumer rights advocates, and even tech-savvy teens with a love for tinkering have rallied against Deere's stance. The situation wasn't always like this. There was a time when John Deere machines were as open to repair as the barn doors they parked beside. Early models were built with simplicity in mind, grease points, replaceable belts, and engines that seemed to whisper, "Don't worry, I'll guide you." Farmers swapped parts and stories at hardware stores, passing down knowledge as old as the fields themselves. But the rise of software-driven equipment changed the game. Today's tractors are rolling computers, with GPS systems that guide them down rows straighter than an arrow and sensors that measure everything from soil moisture to fuel efficiency. The convenience of modern features came with a trade-off, an increasingly closed ecosystem. Deere's logic wasn't entirely outlandish. The company argued that proprietary software and controlled repairs ensured optimal performance and safety. After all, the equipment isn't cheap, and a malfunction in the middle of a task could be disastrous. But somewhere between caution and control, they crossed a line. Farmers started feeling less like owners of their machinery and more like renters, bound by the whims of a corporate giant. It's one thing to buy a product. It's another to feel like you're borrowing it indefinitely. As the situation escalated, Deere doubled down, asserting that allowing unrestricted repairs could lead to unintended consequences. Their machines were complex, they said, and tampering with them could create risks, not just for the farmer but for anyone in proximity. This defense, however, didn't sit well with critics. The implication that lifelong farmers couldn't safely handle their own equipment rubbed salt into an already raw wound. Many pointed out that while the technology was advanced, the principle remained simple. If you buy it, you should be able to fix it. The backlash wasn't confined to angry letters or social media rants. Advocacy groups, spurred on by a broader right-to-repair movement, began lobbying for legislative change. States across the U.S. debated laws that would force companies like Deere to provide the tools, parts, and information needed for independent repairs. The issue turned into a legal tug-of-war, with farmers testifying about their struggles and Deere executives trying to justify their position. The scenes were often tense, but occasionally they dipped into the absurd. One farmer from Nebraska recounted how he had to jury-rig a workaround with duct tape and a prayer just to finish harvesting his field, drawing laughs from the crowd and a smirk from the judge. Deere's competitors, sensing blood in the water, didn't hesitate to take advantage. Some companies promised more repair-friendly policies, hoping to woo disgruntled customers. Others stayed silent, watching from the sidelines as Deere fought a battle it seemed ill-prepared for. Meanwhile, farmers began exploring alternatives, from older, repairable models to emerging brands with open platforms. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The very machinery that once defined reliability was now driving customers to look elsewhere. The cultural impact of Deere's decision can't be overstated. Farming has always been more than a job. It's a lifestyle, a tradition, a source of pride. And John Deere, with its green and yellow machines and iconic logo, wasn't just a brand, it was a symbol of that heritage. To many, the company's recent actions felt like a betrayal of those values. The trust built over generations didn't just erode, it cracked wide open, like a parched field after too many dry seasons. The drama also spilled into unlikely corners of the internet. Tech forums buzzed with discussions about hacking Deere's software, while YouTubers documented their attempts to circumvent repair restrictions. Some videos were serious how-tos, while others leaned into comedy, with users donning cowboy hats and speaking in exaggerated drawls as they tried, and often failed, to bypass the digital locks. The tone was clear: if Deere wouldn't play ball, they'd find a way to fix things themselves, legality be damned. For all the noise, Deere's move also sparked an important conversation about the intersection of technology, ownership, and freedom. As more devices, from phones to cars to refrigerators, rely on software to function, the question of who gets to fix them has become increasingly relevant. Deere, willingly or not, found itself at the center of this debate. The outcome could set a precedent, not just for agriculture, but for industries far beyond the fields. It's worth noting that Deere's actions weren't entirely without merit. In an era where hacking and cybersecurity threats are genuine concerns, the company's desire to protect its intellectual property and users from harm wasn't unfounded. But the execution left much to be desired. Instead of working with customers to strike a balance, Deere's approach felt heavy-handed, fueling resentment rather than reassurance. The fallout from this saga is still playing out, but one thing is clear: Deere has stumbled into a PR mess that could have been avoided with a bit more foresight. Whether through arrogance, miscalculation, or sheer bad luck, they've managed to alienate the very people who should be their biggest advocates. The story is as much a cautionary tale as it is a current event, reminding businesses everywhere of the importance of listening to their customers before those customers take their business elsewhere. In the end, Deere's shocking move may prove to be a pivotal moment in the company's history. It's a reminder that even the most respected brands aren't immune to missteps, and that trust, once lost, is a hard thing to regain. Whether they'll recover remains to be seen, but one thing's for sure: farmers and everyone else watching this drama unfold won't forget anytime soon. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content. We thrive on your feedback, so be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Until next time, keep discovering and stay tuned.